Montreal looks pretty good for shows. I know they just had that Lamb of God announcement the other day, a couple others. So.
I think we're opening for Lamb of God.
Yeah.
I'm tallying the news. It's here first.
It's episode 28 of Innersleeve here on SoundMojo. I'm your host, Cassius Morris. As usual, I'm joined by the gang of hooligans themselves. We got the mastermind behind SoundMojo, Joe Pacheco. What's happening, Joe?
Hey, man. Great day, great week.
Absolutely.
And how you doing?
Doing good, man. And we got Frank Pavan also. Frank, what's happening?
What's up, boys? Always a fun time of the week. I'm telling you, man, I look forward to these recordings.
Same.
Absolutely.
I love how you ask us how we're doing, and like just 2 minutes ago we were typing like, oh, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. We know how.
I never know how to respond. Always thinking, what's the default
get better at
answer?
that.
It's a lot easier to ask it than to have to answer. You know, I just sit here and watch you guys have to come up with something. It's great. Yeah. We are just wiping the sweat off our brows here. Crazy week. I know this isn't overly topical to the people who are watching this, later on. But in terms of current day here in Alberta, where I'm at, we are breaking heat records. We're looking at over 40 degrees. So I'm sweating in this t-shirt right now. It's crazy. But summertime in Canada, right, guys? We got to enjoy it.
Wow.
It's crazy,
definitely enjoy it.
It's crazy, man. We get like plus 40 and then the next day hoodie season again, and then I think that's kind of over, but I think it's going to be the plus 40. That's for sure.
Madness.
Yeah. Those hot days are brutal, but at the same time, you have to appreciate them in a way because we go minus 25 or whatever the other way. So
like that, just like that.
Yeah.
That is where the appreciation comes in. Speaking of appreciation, I think I can speak for all of us when I say we want to give a huge shout out to all of you guys. We just hit another milestone here on SoundMojo, and it feels like we're starting to say this more regularly, actually, that it's starting to happen. 22,000 subscribers. So, just from me personally, thank you guys so much. I don't know what you guys want to say about it.
Thank you so much, man. It's a labor of love, basically, as we all know it, right? It's a labor of love to do this and to have people chime in and vote basically by pressing the like button and by subscribing. Makes it all worthwhile.
It's been huge, man. We're excited to see the growth. We're enjoying the community we're growing here on the channel. So, and this is just another milestone, as Cassius said. And next one is 25. The one after that's 30, and we'll get there, no doubt.
And don't forget, we also are as an audio podcast as well on Spotify and all the other platforms. And Frank also kind of sort of gave us the good news. It was we have a consistent amount of listeners and downloads, and that's always fantastic to hear.
Yeah, definitely. So look, thank you.
Thank you
to the ones listening. You're the ones supporting all of this, so we appreciate it.
We appreciate you guys continuing to grow this family here. And I know that we also ran a couple of polls. Now, I don't know, Frank, if you want to, I want to hand it over to you for this, potentially.
Yeah, okay, sure. So, over the past couple of weeks, we always brainstorm about this show, and we want to engage with the listeners and an audience that we have at our disposal here at WatchMojo and SoundMojo, of course. So we ran two different polls, one on the SoundMojo community tab and on YouTube, and one on the WatchMojo community tab on YouTube, obviously. I'd like to get into the SoundMojo one first, and this is important for those listening because we sent out a poll asking just to gauge where the Innersleeve listeners and what the Innersleeve listeners enjoy the most. Is it, the guest interviews with the guests we've had, like a Toto, like a Chris Holmes, like Anita Strauss, etc.? Or is it, the segments between us three? Or is it, SoundMojo artists that we've been featuring recently? And although it is a smaller sample size, we do see that there's a unanimous appreciation. What do you want to call it? Appreciation, desire for SoundMojo artists to be featured. So look, we've been doing it the past couple of episodes. We have more lined up. We just want to make you know that for those who voted, for those who listen, that is going to be addressed. And we're happy that you guys voted. That's how we want to kind of gauge the audience over on SoundMojo. And now going over to WatchMojo, which this is an entirely different conversation, but one that is important. We ran a poll essentially asking the WatchMojo audience, how do they feel about the return to live concerts? Are they for it? Are they disinterested altogether? Does there have to be COVID protocols in place to encourage you to go? and whatnot. So that was kind of like the poll, and then we just wanted to see where everyone stood. 100 by the time that this is probably live, and maybe in the future when people are watching this, over 140 to 150 roughly at this moment 1,000 votes on that poll, which was
on just that poll. Wow,
on just that poll,
crazy.
140,000 votes. Wow. And
1,100 comments.
Yeah, geez,
1,100
massive.
comments.
Crazy. So people had a lot to say about this.
A lot to say, and geez, I should have had it up. Does anyone have it in front of me?
I pulled.
Okay, what's the unanimous one at this moment, Joe?
All right. So the question is, are you ready to go live concert? All that. So the unanimous one, which is I'm surprised. I'm really surprised.
Drum roll, please. Let's go.
We'll add that in after. But yeah. 36% people. What do you think? For or against?
I think we'll probably be for it.
For?
That's what I would think. Not interested. Straight up, no, not interested.
36% of people.
There isn't even a unanimous answer. Like no one's in the lead here. It's not a clear winner. Exactly. It's 36% is the highest percentage.
22% said that they would give it strong consideration.
Exactly. And 29, like I'd go 100%. I'm one of those 29. Okay. Like I already got my tickets for my first show.
For me, it would probably be strong consideration and a bit of the COVID protocol just to be safe. But at the same time, we got to live our lives. And I think that's what people are thinking in the back of their head. And I just want to pull up a few comments here that were either, up-liked or had replies. And so someone, the name is Toast and Egg, said, for me, it would depend on the following: who is playing and if I have the time. Obviously, we couldn't fit subcategories within the poll. So I know we could have been like, hey, if Metallica's playing, hey, if it's Drake. We couldn't be that specific. Yeah. But yes, good reasons, of course, who is playing and if I have the time. That was a big one, if I have the time and money. Another person, Devin George, said, going to see Megadeth in August, GNR in September, Kiss in October, Rio, Speedwagon in November.
I want to be Devin.
Right? Yeah, geez, what a lineup for him. The next one from Jeremiah Teague. Seeing big name bands nowadays is too expensive. Local shows are much more fun, cheaper, better for local communities. I agree. Local communities need that type of entertainment as well. And I mean, let's be honest, big name brands always go to the big arenas and the tickets can get outrageous. The next one, Luger Man. I was supposed to attend a Sabaton concert back in late 2019 or early 2020. It was the only concert they arranged in my state, so you best believe if they came back, I would go. And the last one, this is by an actual band. Just did a gig in Essex. It was packed. Everyone at tables and well-behaved. Not quite the same atmosphere, but close enough. That came from the Luminectric band. Maybe we could have them on the show. Who knows? Maybe we could reach out to them.
Crazy how much
input
we got on that. A wide range of
reactions here, but I think everyone has a fair take on it. It's a mix of the past year and a half has been brutal for us, fans and bands as well, that we've been locked away. I just want to get out there, and then some have a bit more of a conservative approach, being like, Let's wait and see the prices. Let's wait and see the location, who's playing, and all that. But
correct me if I'm wrong, but it sort of seems to me like the people who mostly voted no. I mean, 140,000 people, 36% say they're not interested. So maybe at least half of that percent would be because of COVID, I would assume. But it seems like the larger percentage is probably just not interested in concerts. I mean, we look at the top voted comments, like you said, most people are just like, I'm not really a concert person, and this person even says, I'm not a concert person, but have fun to those who are. Asher says that. So I don't know. Do you guys think that it's just because that segment size maybe didn't want to go to concerts in general, or do you think it's because we're coming out of the lockdown into live music?
It's probably a bit of both.
Yeah,
probably a bit of both.
Right.
I think when you think of WatchMojo's audience, you don't think of them as music diehards. Yeah, there's probably a percentage of them that are. So I'd lean towards them just voting no because maybe music isn't their top interest. But I still feel like there was a lot of people who are like we said, Sabaton and Megadeth and all these bands. There's some diehards.
A lot of Megadeth comments. There was at least 4 or 5.
And Skillet.
Skillet. I think I saw that one too.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I mean, what do you think about this one, Joe? Yeah.
I think this is interesting, because it all depends on who voted on that day and who saw this, right, on their feed and stuff. Yeah. But I was surprised when I saw that so far in the lead, 36% not interested. But what's interesting in that other comment you brought up, what was cool was, I think this is really going to help out like this whole break, we had a forced break, right? So it's like, and like you said, the prices are so exorbitant for some of these shows. I think for indie bands and smaller bands, I know in Montreal, the scene over here, sometimes you have to almost like line up 3-4 bands together to bring out 50 people, 100 people. So I think this drought is now going to push up that indie level. Like the guy said, it was jam-packed, right? So I have a feeling it's going to benefit, at least for maybe the first 6 months, where people just want music, man. They just want to hear the vibe. They want to be in a place. They want to hang out with their friends after being locked down. The one thing I noticed in my case is, it seems like, man, like the line was just cut, right? And it's like it's like from nothing to like, wow, wide open. Everybody's super excited, right? And the shows are taking off. The big festivals are still canceling. I think it just takes time to set that whole thing up and all that. But I mean, there's music going on now. Hey, we're back, man. I think it's safe to say we're back.
That's another like topic that was discussed within the comments. Is like, hey, like. And especially in the States, COVID, like the doses are up, people are getting vaccinated. People in the comments, at least, are voicing their opinions on things basically being back to normal. So I think in many people's minds, double vaccinated, let's just go. Let's back to normal.
It's true. Alberta, at least in Canada, on July 1st, is the first province in Canada to have completely zero guidelines, no masks, nothing.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I'm sure people will wear them if they decide to. Personally, if I look at it this way. If I go to a restaurant, it says no shoes, no shirt, no service, right? So if they want to put masks on that too, I'm happy to obey that. Personally, I feel safer wearing a mask. As a business person, I think it's better to wear a mask for a while. But yeah, so when we talk about going back to normal, that's sort of eyebrow raising to me, and it's interesting to see what's going to happen with it. But definitely. We're all, I think it's safe to say, happy about live entertainment coming back. And speaking of entertainment, I got to come up with a new segue other than saying "speaking of" and pulling a word out of the last sentence.
It's working. It's working.
This is working. It's getting us to the next topic, right? We have an awesome collab that just came out. Now, this is a sort of an unexpected powerhouse of artists, but I have to say I'm quite happy that this has come to the surface, and this has come to the surface because it is the anniversary coming up of Metallica's Black Album, which is their most iconic record. They're putting out a ton of reissues, re-releases, and they just dropped a version of Nothing Else Matters. This is a cover, and this cover features Miley Cyrus, Elton John, Yo-Yo Ma, Robert Trujillo from Metallica himself, Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers, and Watt. I mean, guys, this sounds like the lineup at Coachella, not necessarily the lineup for a song.
Yeah, a lot put into that, man. Jeez.
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, I can't believe it feels like yesterday to me that this album came out. Like, honestly, I remember it was an iconic moment, like a new album. And then everything that followed with Metallica, with the success of the Black Album. I listened to the cover. You guys checked out the cover? You watched the video? Yeah?
Yeah,
what are your thoughts?
very, very theatrical looking video. I mean, it almost felt like you were watching, some sort of
Django.
Tarantino movie or something like that.
Yeah,
Felt like Django. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, had that vibe. I thought it was actually a trailer for a movie at first. I'm watching like, is this tied in with a movie? As well.
Yeah, like
as
a Western or something.
Yeah.
I mean, look, from a musical instrumental standpoint, I think it sounded pretty good. The drums were rocking. I like Miley Cyrus's voice. I think she's a talent in her own right. I think the video is extra. Like, I think that's fair to say. I think they intended for it to be that way, though. It looks like it was highly produced.
It was a lot of the same thing too. I was waiting for Elton John to come out on a spaceship or something. Nothing really happened other than a bunch of clocks ticking.
It was also like a safe cover in the sense that like everything sounded just great.
Yeah.
Nothing straying from the norm. It sounded like you're just listening to I don't know if it necessarily say updated, because I mean that version still sounds great, the Metallica version. But I mean with Yo-Yo Ma's cellos in the back and her voice, like you said, Frank, is so unique, man. So such a great like warm, low voice. I mean, I have no issues with the cover. I think it sounded really good.
I like Miley Cyrus, I think that she just, I think that in terms of being a famous person for so long from such a young age, even though she had, a bit of a crazy phase, whatever, who doesn't when they're famous like that? I think that she's, come through it rather gracefully for what she's been through, and also just a big talent, crazy work ethic, Frank. When we talked about this with Taylor Swift the other time, it really made me realize, like, yeah, I don't really listen to Taylor Swift. I'm not opposed to her. But when you think about, like, the work ethic of especially some of these female pop stars that have been around for a decade and stuff, I mean, that is, at the end of the day, after a certain amount of years, I think you have to respect it at a certain point.
Yeah, no, for sure. And sorry, Joe, I just wanted to say, like, Miley Cyrus is another example of, like, a Taylor Swift-esque, like, child star actress.
Yeah.
Like, has been working since birth, essentially.
That's it. That's what I was going to say.
There's
too.
a lot of mileage on those vocal cords and everything. So, it's a testament to her work ethic. Look, it's a testament to her credibility to be singing songs such as this one and being collaborated with all these great names associated with this piece of work. Also, though, I have a question. But Joe, you had something to say before I asked my question.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, because same thing as you, pretty much. Like, whereas like these kids, kids have been working, like you said, since birth. So like, they've just been pushed and developed, and like and then eventually they have like all the tools at their disposal to make high end quality stuff.
So here's a question for you, obviously, and the coming together of this cover is obviously years of work on behalf of Miley Cyrus and everything to build up her reputation and credibility and as an artist to get to this point where she could do this. Now, I ask you, you said it was safe, relatively speaking, right? Nothing too drastically of a change.
Yeah.
This is something that anyone can do, right? Like this, like it's blown up, right? Millions and millions of views.
Yeah.
A bunch of headlines. But this is something, relatively speaking, that any kind of artist can do, right? But yet, obviously, it's thrown into the spotlight. Yeah. I mean, if you can sing, I'm not saying I could freaking do it. There's no way I can do it. No freaking way.
No, but, you're saying artists,
people within this industry, like I think of, like a Sophie Burrell, who loves to do covers of songs. I'm not saying I don't know if she's a vocalist. I'm not too sure. I know she's a guitarist.
Been posting some stuff with vocal lessons.
So it's just like, I think it's doing something like this is more of a portrayal of your career already. Because relatively speaking, I think any artist within the industry can do something like this, but it wouldn't get the traction and the hype as a Miley Cyrus would.
Well, look at all the names.
Am I overstepping here, or is it
not at all?
No, that makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Look at all the names on this. And it also seems like, I get it. This is for the 30th anniversary of Metallica, the Black Album, but I mean, you start seeing a lot of these, like you were saying, 20th. Coachella lineups in terms of songs. Is it another way for even the big guys to say, like, what can I do that's new and bring more people, right? There's all these collabs going on, right, between people. So maybe it might be another way to draw like different audiences into your, like some people that don't know Miley. I don't know how you could not know her, but like,
and this is not me taking a hit at Miley. I'm a huge Miley Cyrus fan from Hannah Montana to Party in the USA. Had a crush on her as a young kid, like. Totally a Miley Cyrus fan. It's
makes
but
two
I
of us.
It. No.
If anything, I think it was a compliment to her what you said, but because at the end of the day, it seems like whatever she does, it just seems to blow up because of who she is and her caliber.
Yeah, and like all the profits from this song, obviously, like go to Metallica's All Within My Hands Foundation and Miley Cyrus's Happy Hippie Foundation. So it's, it's a good. Why not? Right? It's a win-win, basically.
Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about. Speaking of pop stars,
I was thinking in my head. Speaking of, and then you came right in.
Speaking of Cassius,
that's the next T-shirt. Speaking of, that's just going to be the T-shirt with the sound with maybe a pair of headphones.
I want the reply all ones first.
The reply all. Speaking of, just 2-word T-shirts. Britney Spears is going through a pretty tough time. I mean, guys, what's the deal with Britney Spears? I don't really get this.
I'll let you carry this one, Joe, at least to start it.
Well, I'll see what I can do here with my notes I've taken over here. But so basically she's in 2 conservatorships.
Conservatorships.
Yeah, these are things like where people, basically one of the body of the person. So someone else makes decisions for you when you're not in the state of mind. I don't know what could happen in the situation, but if you're not able to control you make decisions for yourself, someone can have that. And they also... Yeah, and then there's also her finances. So she's got 2 of these, and obviously, like, she, like we just said, all these kid stars being, worked over the years, and like basically employing hundreds of people on what they do,
So is her father the main one who has control of her finances, and do we know who the other guy is or the other person?
I'm not 100% sure on that, but
from the link that you sent me though, Joe, about it, like it's obviously being brought in front of a court, and it's going to be administered by a judge, and like once this court hearing comes to a conclusion, they will deem if she is what's the word, I guess,
in control. That's it. What we heard from the link I sent was the Philip DeFranco, basically, when he covered it, and which I thought was really good because he went in depth with a lawyer as well, so we can really get like what, you know, because to me this is shocking. When I was watching and listening to her talk about herself and her situation, I was shocked, man, like that someone could make these type of decisions for you, even to the point where they won't allow her to have a baby.
That's it. If you could have children and stuff, you
know, so it's like
right.
But this, and the lawyer, she made it clear that I know it's scary and it's sad, but it kind of is legal.
It happens a lot.
It happens, but that's the thing. You know, this was a status checkup, so there was no point in like this was not going. Judge was not going to make a decision this time and all that stuff. You know, I think they're meeting on the 14th, from what I gathered, but. And this was leaked. Somebody recorded this, which is illegal, and leaked it, and it went everywhere. So
and then she broke her silence.
Yeah. Well, no, she spoke because she didn't know this was going to go public. Somebody leaked this.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So now everything going forward is going to be sealed. So we may not know any more stuff. But it was shocking that you can't even get out when you think of your of sound mind. You can't even get out. You know. So like, is there no way to like? Is there a probationary period where it's like, okay, we put a hold on it for like 6 months to a year, and you know you're checked out. Like, okay, you didn't all of a sudden buy the Dallas Cowboys and spend all your money or whatever. You know, like it's scary, man. Like, and what's funny is that what the lawyer says, this is in place for people who can't make decisions or can't work anymore. They've been working her to the bone. Like she didn't want to do the Vegas residency, and they were like, no, you got to do it. It's in the contract. You know, so she can work. It's scary.
It's what they do to, allegedly, a lot of these female pop stars in terms of putting them through the ringer is allegedly really bad. You know, like I've heard some horrible things, and, the more you look into it, the worse it gets. I remember Mariah Carey when she was with Tommy Mottola from Sony. You probably know all about this. Yeah. He would control her to the point what she wore on a daily basis, who she spoke to, when she left the house, where she would go. Like, and it was to the point where she was basically a record label character. A pawn, essentially. Yeah, that is told what to do. And, you take it to now with K-pop, when you look at some of these Korean schools, you pay $3 million to put a kid in this school basically from birth, and they basically like construct you to be a star, and you're not allowed to date people, and you have to, if you want to date, you have to be underground. So the point being, it's crazy how much of this stuff actually happens, and what I'm really looking forward to is like a golden era of Hollywood, so to speak, which I think we've entered in with a lot of this Me Too stuff that's stopping a lot of this crap behind the scenes, is that a lot of this stuff can stop and we can just let people sing and dance and act without being abused. Maybe that would be nice.
You know, what's really freaky for me, the cherry on the top for this is that like she pays both sides of the legal fees. Comes out of her pocket. Whether she's fighting against it and the one that's actually holding her in the conservatorship comes out of her pocket. That's freaky.
They turned her into an LLC.
It's a
Britney Inc.
It's a money-making machine, man. And for me, man, as a father, like I would be like, wow, dude. I would like, I get it. Like everybody wants money, success, fame, and all that stuff that comes with it. But man, I wouldn't be able to do that. I would never be able to, never say never, but like I would never be able to sort of like I would feel this feeling for my kids.
I
would never be able to
never say never. It depends how much they make, but I could never do it.
Like, No, but I mean, for me, at one point, it's like, wow, dude, you have $60 million. Like, really, do you need any more? Let your kid live her life. Maybe she has a chance to be normal and feel what it's like to be normal. Because, like you said, man, these people are brought into this ecosystem at such a young age, and you don't get to see like she can't even go for a dinner. They always force her to go to a specific
she's like locked
place.
In her house. That's why she uploads all those videos of her dancing in her house. Remember?
That's it. But also, like when she has to go get her, like to go see her psychiatrist or whatever for therapy, she's forced. They could just bring the person home and do in-house. No, they're forced to go so that paparazzi's waiting for her and puts all that extra anxiety and stress on her. So it's like it's horrible.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's a very sad story. Very sad story.
It's mind-boggling, but listen, we stay on top of the current news and we stay on the pulse, but definitely free Britney. I gotta jump on the hashtag on the bandwagon for that one there.
I don't wanna feel this anymore. Someone tell me how to let it go.
Another episode packed with guests here on Innersleeve that I'm definitely really excited about. The first guest that we're going to be bringing to you guys today is joining us all the way from the Yukon. And one of the only places that gives me a run for my money in the cold department, like we were talking about. Paris Pick, who just released her brand new project. You know, Paris is a very unique personality. The one thing I really noticed when speaking with her is she's just seems very happy where she's at. And she just seems very appreciative to just have her guitar, play her music, put her stuff out. She even was saying to us, and I think, Joe, you said this stood out to you, that her dream was to be a pizza delivery person.
Oh,
and I'm
God.
like, usually it's a pizza delivery person's dream to be a musician.
Exactly. That was a great point.
I don't know if it was a dream, but like she always said, I always wanted to work as a pizza delivery person. And then she made that video, all based on that. Same here, man. Like I don't think I know any other artists from the Yukon. Personally, I don't think, or I've never paid attention to that band, where they're from, kind of thing. So I thought this was unique.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna say, like, more on the note of being in the Yukon. I think I've only crossed paths with one other person in my life that's been from there. It's kind of like the foreign land within, as a territory within Canada.
Yeah.
But super like down to earth. Like she just said, like, hey, there's no polar bears around here, you know. Let's get rid of those misconceptions.
Igloos. That's
igloos, like
the misconception, you know.
It's we're confused about the Yukon the way Americans are confused about Canada. Like it's the only place in Canada that Canadians aren't even sure about. We're like, that's too intense for me, man. Like it's but no,
that's uncharted territory.
Exactly. But we got nothing but love for the Yukon, and I also was made aware of some incredible videographers, a duo of brothers that moved to the Yukon to do their work. Off the top of my head, I don't have their plug, but we give them a plug during this interview. So, you know, a lot of great recording studios there, a lot of great videographers on the rise there. And, you know, it's encouraging to see that pretty much any corner of our wonderful country, you can find music and entertainment. You know, it's really cool.
Well put, my friend.
So we'll be chatting with Paris, and afterwards we have a segment with some artists that are native SoundMojo artists. You can find their videos and music on our channel. Po Lazarus are going to be joining myself and Joe. We went off the reservation. Frank, I don't know what happened to you that day, but me and Joe went off the reservation. And so we tried to do our little correspondence with them, and it was a good chat. You know, I know that you've been following Po for a while, Joe.
Yeah, I've like I said in the interview, I think we found, like, I discovered them 2013-ish, 14-ish, local Montreal band doing some folky rock, quirky kind of stuff, you know, very original, and like, you know, and like you never really know what to expect with these guys, you know. And the one takeaway I got from the interview was that, man, the pandemic hit them hard. Like really hit them hard in terms of not just music, but in terms of like their being, almost how they did stuff, their lifestyle, right? They're so used to just walking down Montreal. You walk down Saint Denis or wherever you may be, and like pop in here. There's a band playing there. Check it out. Hey, let's go to the next one. Where does it lead us? You know,
it's their routine. It's their local town community's routine of like these local artists just playing on a regular basis within their town, and that was taken away from them. And you could tell in their voice that it sucked. Like it was 2 years almost of just not playing, and they live to play. Yes,
that's true. No, I mean, people who do it like you guys are describing, day in and day out like that, and that's their life. Like even a lot of comedians I know, some people may think, oh, it's only on the weekends because that's when bars are going. No, they're in bars and clubs Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Like they're finding places to perform. So you're right. It becomes an ingrained part of their life and, you know, the way that they function. But, you know, I mean, to try to put a silver lining on it, I love to see and discover how people got through it, and the people that are still operating as bands and the people that made it through. A lot of the guys that we've been talking to the last few weeks, I mean, it's insane that they made it through as artists and they're continuing to do it. So
yeah, dude, honestly, bands who've gotten through this difficult times, it's a testament to their relationship, their working relationship, and their friendship, of course, because, you know, when you're in your routine, your weekly, your daily routine of performing and scheduling, booking shows and all that, there's no time there's no downtime to think about what if we don't have something coming or whatever, because your intention is to always have something coming. But now you've been deliberately like stripped of that, and so if bands stick together through this time, they'll never break.
What I like is that we got to see, we're lucky, we had, like, the three of us had this really unique position to see what an indie band goes through, and with a band like Pop Evil that has some hits, and and an audience and is touring on a major level, how they were affected by the pandemic. Maybe not financially, maybe financially as well, but most likely like, hey, we want to keep busy. You know, our families are first. Yeah. So it's interesting to see that, like, hey, man, at all levels, you know, this affected everyone, you know, not just from the big guys or just the small guys. Everybody got hurt. Everybody felt
seriously,
it, you know?
even from Pop Evil up to Toto. You know what I mean? Like we've seen it on all angles of the spectrum, and it is fascinating. So we're going to let these guests roll for you guys, but you know, I think that we can definitely say it's been a fun episode, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. And make sure you guys click that subscribe button, of course, down below and on our audio platforms. Let's chat with...
Road to 25.
Road to 25K. That's the next hat and t-shirt also. And let's catch up with Paris Pick and Po Lazarus.
It's all I can do, all I can do. It's all I can do, all I can do, all I can do, all I can do.
So are you currently in Yukon right now?
I am.
Very cool. You know, I've been checking out a lot of your work, and one of the things that seems to be standing out to me is it seems like there's a really thriving community, at least in the place you're at in Yukon. I don't know if you could expand on that for our listeners.
Yeah, the music scene here is really incredible. You know, we don't have a big population, so it's kind of great because it's like every artist can kind of thrive in their genre. So like there's not many overlapping bands really. Like it's like there's like, you know, like 2 country bands and 1 funk band and 1 soul band, and like yeah, it's like everyone can just like thrive and be like totally supported in what they're doing, and it's not like a competition because we're just like a small family.
No, that totally makes sense. So you feel like there's really a connected feeling, whether it's rock, metal, whatever, people are connected if they're artists.
100%. Yeah, like we all talk to each other, you know, it's like the metalheads come to my shows, which is like, I'm like pop music, and then I'll go to their metal shows, and like, yeah, it's just like we all support each other. That's the...
So how did this start for you exactly? What was the angle that really drew you in first in terms of getting into the music scene?
Well, I moved here when I was 18. I hitchhiked from Vancouver Island to Whitehorse.
Wow.
So I've been here a long time now. So it essentially started as just being a traveler, and I was a busker when I went across Canada before I came to Yukon, and I played the ukulele, and I was just like a street performer. And it was seeing performers play in Whitehorse that like just blew my mind, and I was like, whoa, like I could do music like that, like take it off the street and into a bar.
Totally. Did you ever make it to the Halifax buskers?
Yes, I did.
Very cool. I used to live in Halifax, actually, so I used to go see that. I mean, one of the most impressive ones in Canada, I think.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I stayed at the Best Westin downtown, so it was like, or it's just the Westin, I think. But it's like... It
is the best,
yeah. But yeah, it's like right there on the docks where it all happens. Really cool.
Absolutely. So what made you want to hitchhike from Vancouver Island to Yukon? What was the thought process behind that?
I met a friend. So after I traveled across Canada, so I went from like I went from McBride, which is near Prince George, all the way to Halifax over a period of a few months. And then when I went back to Port Hardy, which is on Vancouver Island, where I graduated high school, I met some traveling like hitchhikers, and they were like, yeah, you know, like, would you want to go on a trip? And one of them was like, yeah, I'm thinking about going to Banff, but I'm not sure. I also want to go to the Okanagan. And she's like, would you want to go with me? And I was like, sure. But we flipped a coin. It was like, we're either going to go up to the Yukon or like down to the Okanagan and like cherry pick and all that stuff. So we flipped a coin that landed on Yukon. So we went up, we went.
That's so cool. So you literally flipped a coin and off you were.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, you know, it makes me wonder what sort of things do you pick up in terms of life skills when you're sort of traveling around and living sort of the busking type of life? Because it seems like a very free, enjoyable life for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. It's like the spontaneousness of that is really fun. I would say, you know, I was ready to find a place to call my own, though. That's like by the time I got to Whitehorse, after that like 4 or 5 month traveling period, I was exhausted. I didn't want to be on the road anymore, and I think that's why I ended up being like, hey, I really like this place. Like, decided, it was like we were in Whitehorse for 3 weeks, and my friend's like, I'm gonna go to Banff now, and I was like, well, I'm staying.
Right.
So I stayed.
So was it weird for you to stay because you were sort of in it together?
It was fine. Like, we're just like travel buddies. So it was really chill. Like, I was just like, yeah, like I like it. And I had like snuck into like this open mic jam night thing at a bar, and I was like 18, and like I like snuck in and got to play music all night. And I was like, hey, like this is really cool. Like, so, I turned 19 in that same bar, and they were like, oh shoot, we've been serving you for 3 months. And I was like,
off the record. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's sort of and correct me if I'm wrong, is there a small town feeling in Whitehorse?
Oh, 100%. It's you should Google what the population is, because I can't remember. I want to say like 40,000, but
Can't
I'm not
remember
sure.
off the top of my head, but I definitely was looking at it last night. Yeah, population is 25,000. Look at that.
Okay,
Wow.
yeah, exactly. It's tiny. So for example, there was one time where I was parked on Main Street with my bike, and I had like this really cool custom painted rainbow bike that I got from the garbage dump. Anyways, I parked it outside and it got stolen. Well, maybe a week goes by, or 4 or 5 days. It wasn't even a week. And someone had messaged me saying, hey, I just saw someone riding your bike on Main Street. I saw your post on the community thread. You don't know me, but I know you. I listen to your music. And I got your bike back from this like person. And I was like, what? Like, you just went and like got my bike from some random person because they saw my post? And I was like, that wouldn't have happened in a big city.
This is true, right? Wow. So it sounds like people are supportive and aware of the local scene also. Like, people in the town, they know who's representing, so to speak.
Yeah. And like, we have lots of little Facebook like helpers groups and stuff. So like, if you need a couch moved and you're elderly and like you don't have family, someone will come help you move a couch. It's crazy.
Wow. That's really cool. See, this is what I like to know, because obviously well, it's not obvious. I'm Canadian, but that's definitely a region I've never been to. So, what would you
gotta
say
come sometime.
I would definitely check it out. What would you say is the biggest misconception about Yukon? Because there's so many about Canada. What about this specific region?
Well, when you're talking to people that, the first thing that comes to mind when you hear Yukon and you don't live here, lots of people think igloos, polar bears, all the snow in the world, which this year we had a pretty snowy winter. It's pretty bizarre when actually we're like really desert-like. It's actually pretty hot when it does get hot. Other misconceptions, I don't know how many other ones there is, really. I just think it's like funny stuff like that, like my family in Ontario, they're just like, oh, it must be like tundra, like winter crazy. And I'm like, it's got a crazy landscape, but polar bears aren't outside.
Right. It's not quite at that level.
Yeah, but like Nunavut or like somewhere else, like you go up into the, like, that's where things start getting very winter.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of sort of the region and what you're working on, you have the Hope for the Best video, which I thought was really interesting. What can you tell us about what went into that video?
Well, it was just a concept that I came up with that I thought would be fun to shoot. There was like this local venue in town called Epic Pizza that had like an open mic night every Wednesday, and like the host of it, Peggy Hannafin, had been running it for like 30 years or something insane like that. Wow. And the pizza place finally closed down, which was really sad. It happened like prior to the pandemic. And I remember sitting and talking with someone about how I have this music video idea and how it kind of involved my daydream of always wanting to be a pizza delivery girl, because I always thought it would be a great job for me, because one, I love cooking and eating and smelling pizza.
Yeah, same.
And I also love driving around and listening to music in my car. And I was like, man, like being a pizza delivery girl would be awesome. And I've actually applied to every pizza place in Whitehorse, like Pizza 73, Domino's,
there you go.
Name it. There was a period of time where I was really trying to get a pizza delivery job. Hasn't happened yet, but one day my time will come.
I love how you're singing and that your dream is to do pizza. Usually it's the other way around.
I know. But yeah, essentially then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I have this pizza idea. Epic Pizza just closed. Maybe I can do a video that's like an ode to Epic Pizza. And yeah, just like have fun with it.
I thought it was really cool too to show like what it could be like for delivery people going from house to house with all the different stuff. I mean, probably quite relatable, especially during the pandemic with, the rise of food delivery services also.
Totally. Everyone's at home chilling and you don't know. Like I always figured like all the times that I've called the pizza people at like 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh my gosh, like what that person just had to show up to.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
Exactly. The story almost writes itself in a way. I really enjoyed that. The other thing I really enjoyed from you was the Focus Wales Out of Focus showcase performance. You really shined in this, honestly.
Aw, thank you.
Honestly, yeah. So it was a good experience?
Yeah. It was a little nervous because I hadn't done like a live performance video in a while. So when Breakout West reached out saying that that's something they wanted to help me get done, it was really cool. And I was like, and it was weird too because it's like happened during the pandemic. So even just like getting my friends together and going into the studio as a group we're really lucky.
Definitely. So are most of the musicians that we see in a video like that people that you are friends with or people that you're reaching out to in some of the groups you mentioned on Facebook and such?
Yeah, they're my homies, and they also, most of them are like singer-songwriter performers themselves. In Whitehorse, it's kind of the scene is like you're probably going to play in a band with everyone else that's playing on the scene, and they're also pursuing their own musical careers, so it's pretty cool.
Absolutely. And I mean, the one thing I really noticed about it too was it seemed extremely natural and authentic for a studio performance. Was that something that you thought about going into? Like, how am I going to make this translate?
No, I think that's just our vibe.
There you go. I like that though.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's very I was kind of surprised when I saw some of the other videos that came maybe out of like Toronto, and we always kind of laugh because like we get as Yukoners sometimes opportunities like this come our way, and then we make our video and we share it, and then like when we see what comes out later from all the other people across Canada, it's like this super high processed, like clearly everything was like edited down to the T, and like
right.
The video itself just kind of doesn't seem organic, and I'm just like, what if, like, I didn't know we could make a video like that, but also like it's not really our style, honestly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too, and like you really capture that, and I know that you do a lot of video work too with the Bullen brothers Filmmakers, which I mean I discovered through you. I got to say, shout out to them because I'm becoming a fan.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, they're gonna be so happy to hear you say that, man. These kids are awesome. They moved here from South Africa a few years ago. And I think the youngest one is 18 and the oldest one is 22, and they've been making movies since they were like 13. They're unreal. Yeah.
That's crazy. So they're really they must be making it quite the name for themselves in Yukon.
Yes, like they went around and met all the musician community, and they met the film community, and then between the two, I think they've been getting more work, which is awesome.
That's really cool. So how involved are you typically with your videos? Like, are you typically coming up with concepts, or was it more of a one-off with the pizza delivery thing?
No, because I've produced 3 music videos now. I just did another one. Usually I'm the producer and the creative. Like, I like coming up with a story and a vision, and then but I like to do that and then pass it on to the other moving parts, like the people that know how to help that vision come to life. Because I don't know how to like make it actually happen. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you got to delegate to the people that really, you can come up with parts of it, but maybe not like actually jumping behind the camera. Like, that's how I am,
Yeah, exactly. So even recently I had, for my next music video that's going to come out, it was like, I had an idea, but I didn't. My friend who directed this most recent video, I sat him in my car and I was like, look, I'm going to play you the song that this video is going to be for, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm thinking because I want you to have a fresh slate and see if your brain goes to where my brain maybe went when I heard the song. And then he listened to it, and then I like delivered my idea. And he's like, oh, interesting, because these are like the colors that I saw, or like the theme or the vibe. And I was like, exactly, right? Okay, we're not too far off. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's a fascinating approach, because it seems like when you tell someone your concept, it's like you're setting them up. You're not really letting them think of their own.
Exactly. So that's why I wanted to wait and see if maybe some of their ideas were going to be similar to mine. I don't think I had that approach with the Bullens. The Bullens, I was like, I'm making a music video. It's a romantic story that takes place in a laundromat. Or here's another concept. It's like me as a pizza delivery girl, and it's going to end like this. And they're like, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that makes sense too. See, I love to find out the process of how an artist like really breaks it down. You know, the other thing I wonder with you is, how do you like to document your ideas? Because I know with the new record, Hope for the Best, which comes out June 11th via Care Records, you wrote all the songs yourself. Is that right?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. So 7-8 tracks. What are you writing on paper? Are you using voice memos?
I'm actually a paper person. I love. I work at the garbage dump on weekends, which is a decent job. I actually work in a recycling depot, and it's like this super chill job. I love it. And when I'm there, like there's lots of time where I have my little notebook and I have my guitar set up with my looper, and I'll like, write a song. And yeah, I definitely write on paper. It's like, so I have lots of books with all my songs.
So a looper, what exactly is that?
Oh, like something that can like loop my guitar part or whatever, if I'm trying to figure out a melody or something. Yeah. Gotcha.
So how many instruments do you actually play?
2, I want to say. I dabble in drums, but not really. But I'm a bass player mainly, and a guitar player second.
Do you find that that's easily transferable, the guitar and the bass, or is it sort of very different worlds? Because I think like to the naked eye, people would probably think it's transferable, but that's not always the case.
They're similar depending on how you play your instrument, as in like, so I'm like a very minimalistic bass player. My goal is to just like stay on the beat and not be too busy, and not like, I don't really like bass playing that's all like diddling the whole time and taking up space. Like that's what guitar players do. But I don't agree with that. I think that a guitar player, like I listen to like the meters and stuff, and I hear this super tight, funky guitar playing that's also minimalistic and very good. And I'm like, my bass playing and guitar playing, I kind of like that approach for both of them.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, some of the best guitar parts I find are either minimalist or not even that hard to play. Like it just, maybe there is something in that simplicity. Like look at AC/DC, like some of, maybe the easiest riffs you could do, but they pack that punch.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who else do you find yourself listening to, Paris, in terms of inspirations, or even drawing it back to when you first got inspired by music? Are the people you were listening to then the same people you still listen to?
I'm trying to think of what I was listening to when I first started. I think I was listening to a lot of like indie, like soft indie and stuff, and was like, that was kind of a whole phase. But what I listen to now is like a lot of like yacht music, like the Eagles and like Hall & Oates and like dad rock. And like
dad
Steve
rock.
Miller. Yeah, Steve Miller, like like I just love like that kind of like 60s, 70s singer-songwriter stuff. I love Donovan. Like, I don't know, like just like, yeah, it's a kind of wide range. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been listening to a lot over the years. And also though, like newer stuff that I love is like, Mac DeMarco, Brittany Howard, Anderson .Paak. Who else? Like I listen to Willow. I listen to like Dent May. I listen to like Doja Cat. Like so.
Gotcha. A lot of stuff.
And the Bahamas. So I'm constantly listening to a mix of like old music and then some of the newer music that I'm always like, that's the pop hook stuff that I love. Like I love a good pop artist. Like I'm a sucker for it.
Totally. What are your thoughts on the way that sort of female artists, especially pop artists, are sort of generally portrayed in the media? It seems to be like there's a very set way for female artists in the pop scene to be sort of delivered and marketed.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a little different in Canada. Like, I feel like in the States, it's like I don't know. It's a whole other game in the States. Like,
Yeah.
and
really
maybe
is.
in Canada. Maybe Canada too is like you see the pop artists coming out of Toronto and their music videos as well. They're like, they're probably, I don't know. It's almost like the pretentious, just like super glamored, whatever kind of vibe. And when I tell people that I do pop music, I'm like, I'm not like shirtless, shaking my butt in a music video. It's not like that kind of pop. It's like wholesome pop.
Totally. It's almost like what pop, like, even when I was a kid, pop was Taylor Swift, and now pop just seems like it's something different.
Totally.
Yeah, it's very odd, because I feel like it's sometimes tough for musicians, and I sort of get this vibe from you. Like you don't give me a superficial vibe in any way. And I know we haven't talked for that long, but you seem like an authentic person. So like, how do you work around a business that is so often inauthentic?
You just gotta put your head down and, come to your own conclusion of what success is. And, for me, it's not really about like becoming big and famous as much as it is just like doing music because I like to do it. And then if other people want to listen to it, that's like a bonus.
Right. So you're really doing it to express yourself, not necessarily to attain either a status or material items or any of that.
Totally. It's definitely a cathartic thing. Like writing and singing makes me feel good. Performing makes me feel really good. It's like I get a stage high and I'm like, oh, this is so awesome. And it's like extra awesome when like people come up to me after a show and are like, wow, I really liked that. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Okay, this is rad. But like, am I going to like spend every day of my life trying to like get everyone on board the Paris train? It's like there's a lot going on in the world right now. It's like
well, that's true, man. I've seen the quote too. Stop trying to make everybody like you or interested in you. You're not even interested in everybody, something like that. And I was like, that's a good point, because I think people spend too much time trying to say, how can the world sort of like all pay attention to me? You don't really need the world. You just need your people.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like this past year has been so mental. That's one of the reasons why I, postponed the release of my upcoming record. Is just like, there's just like, one, because it was kind of forced, but two, like there's just more important things than a record right now.
Well, and it's interesting too that you sort of work that into your record, because Hope for the Best, like you talk about how it's a track that thinks about moments of self-doubt, feelings where you sort of question, am I going the right direction? And at the same time, it's in an uplifting manner. So it kind of seems like you wanted to bring an uplifting single to people.
Totally. Like it definitely ended up working with the theme of the year, like it's definitely hope for the best, as in hoping for the best for myself as a young adult that's changing every day and becoming more myself. But then also when I was going to name the record, it was like, oh yeah, like that kind of rolls with the vibe of this past year. Like we're all just hoping that we're going to be okay by the end of this. So it worked out both ways, which is really nice.
Exactly. What sorts of other themes are we able to give a preview of that you're going to be talking about on the record?
So I'm all about like just self, like empowerment, self-recognition, love, life. It's been, even though it's been a weird year, there's actually no songs on the record that are like sad. Really, it's like, it's mostly like I've done a lot of reflecting. It's been a lot of positive stuff. So it's like, some albums are going to have like that one angry song or that one sad song, but I think this record's just happy all the way through, which is nice.
It's sort of a nice change of pace rather than, because it seems like a lot of people use music to vent negative energy. That's true.
Yeah. And I'm like on my first album, Feeling Love, like there's one song called Baby, I'm Too Good For You. And obviously that came out of like a really, intense breakup, and it's like my diss track, and like people get so hype. And then like my friends are like, oh, you need more songs like that. And I'm like, yeah, the issue is I'm not actually mad at anyone right now. So.
Yeah. I've even heard the guys from like Slipknot say that. They're like, we aren't angry kids from Iowa anymore, so we can't make the same music. It's sort of you sort of have to put yourself in those shoes, and it's not always fun, or it can hurt even.
Exactly. Yeah. I always wondered how Taylor Swift does it, because there's a lot of lots of breakup songs, and I'm like, how many times have you been broken up with? Because for me, that's when I rate an angry song, is when it happens.
Yeah, seriously, how many bad? What does it say about her decision making? Is what I'm starting to wonder.
Yeah.
The last thing I really wanted to touch on, or one of the last things, was the Green Needle Records studio in Yukon. Again, something that seems very impressive. I don't know if you could shed some light on what they have going there.
Jim Holland, yeah, he's really awesome. He has a really big, nice studio. It's maybe one of Whitehorse's larger, newer studios. And there's a handful of people in town that have spent years and lots of money and time building a studio and honing in on their craft. And Jim is one of those guys. And I was just super stoked to go there. I think I just wanted to go there because I hadn't in a few years, and I was like, you know what, kind of shared my ideas with him a bit, and he sounded like he was willing to work with me on whatever I wanted, especially when I said I wanted to co-produce and sit in the hot seat and make some decisions, and treat myself kind of separate myself between being the singer-songwriter and then being on the other side of that, which is this song good enough yet? Something needs to change, or whatever, just being kind of more hard on myself on the other side, which was cool.
Sort of the production element of it also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Jim was awesome. He's just super great.
Do you do any engineering at all?
In my home studio, yes. And I'm thinking I'm going to challenge myself this upcoming year, record, because I always recorded demos. When I was going to share a new song with my band to learn, just to give them an idea of what to play for the song. But now I'm thinking, maybe it's time to take that to the next level and try and record some stuff and then send it out to get mastered.
Killer. Wow. Well, Paris, is a really exciting time for you, it sounds like. Last thing I really want to know, for real, is what's your dream collaboration? Because, I can sort of hear you on a number of different tracks.
A dream collab would be working with this gentleman named Dent May.
Okay.
Dent May, I think he's based in California, I want to say. I think he's from Mississippi. But anyways, I love his music so much. He's so just totally my vibe, very loungy, yachty, kind of poppy. I'm like, whoa. And then actually he has a studio, and I reached out to him would you ever want to produce a track with me? And he said yes. So
wow. Awesome.
I hope that can happen one day.
Let's hope that if we do an update, we can have the update be that you've done the track. Let's hope for that.
Yeah.
If you're watching out there. Paris, thanks so much for your time. It's been really nice chatting with you, and I love everything you're doing. We'll definitely be watching here.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Now it's like doing the frog up on the living room rug. It's like doing the alligator from inside the refrigerator. Watch me now.
We're back with another guest-filled segment here on Innersleeve. And boy, Joe, are we ever spoiled today?
Yes, we are. We've got the boys from Po Lazarus.
Gentlemen.
Oh.
What's going on? I like the on-the-fly lighting switch. That was some good, live action cut there. How's it going, gentlemen?
Doing very well.
Very
Fantastic.
good. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you guys are in release mode, right? You guys have been putting out, have a nice EP that you guys just released.
Yeah, a different kind of release mode.
In
what was
sense?
the main difference about it?
I don't know, fellas.
Well, little something called the pandemic.
If we had do a shot in the dark, maybe there was a full moon that night or something. We never know,
I mean, we haven't played an actual live show in, I guess, 2 Februarys, so it's kind of surreal. Yeah, so we're in the release mode, but it's not exactly how I suppose we'd like it.
Yeah, but it's kind of interesting because it goes with your whole the whole despair in society and everything. So it's kind of like you just gotta roll with the punches, basically, you know, like, so how have you guys like sort of adapted, you know, to a new way of releasing?
There was a big learning curve for sure. You know, we had to figure out how to use different social media tools and Facebook things and
all this stuff that nobody knows, like nobody has to know this stuff. And then we were forced in, I don't know. So yeah, we've had to learn different tactics, but I don't know. I guess it's unique. It's definitely different.
Yeah.
It was pretty nice for bands before because like social media was a part of it that you could access, but you're right. It feels like now it's almost like if you're not doing it in some way, it's almost impossible to get the word out with the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Do you guys use TikTok at all?
I think we might have an account, but I don't think we've ever posted anything.
What are your thoughts on TikTok?
We haven't gone viral with any videos, so.
Well, we have that in common, so that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can definitely guarantee that you are on TikTok because I've promoted you guys on the SoundMojo TikTok when.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
you're on TikTok by proxy.
And got some good reactions, you know, some good comments and stuff. So.
I think our music is available on TikTok for people to use. For sure. I think that's how it works. But we haven't made any dance moves.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess like on a personal anecdote, like, do you like the app, and what are your thoughts on bands who sort of that's their way to get traction? Bit of a loaded question. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't ever really appreciate bands using any sort of gimmick. Maybe, I mean, I'm saying that, and we probably no, I don't. We try not to do any gimmicky things or cash in on TikTok. I don't know. We're not young boys anymore, so we're just trying to do it our ways.
That's it. It feels weird, right? Like at a certain age, you're like, it just feels weird to participate. But sometimes it's just, you got to figure out, you know, like they say, when people are zigging, you got to zag. So you got to figure out the other way to do it, you know, that works for you guys, right?
There we go.
For sure.
So how did this journey start for you guys originally? I mean, like, how long have you guys known each other?
We met when we were both in Cégep when we were 17, just turning 18 or something. So it's been a while now.
That would be 2008, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. And I mean, it just took a few years for us. I was singing in some like cover bands and stuff, and Paul was learning how to play the guitar. So we just kind of started talking about Bob Dylan and the Beatles as you would. And then a few years later, we just kind of realized, like, why aren't we just writing our own songs? And that's exactly what we did.
You know, I hear so much about the Montreal music scene. I mean, for someone who's an outsider, like if you could maybe give us a taste of the scene, at least when you started, and maybe also to add to that, how it's changed maybe since you guys have started, because it's been a pretty good run for you guys.
I mean, it's an extremely rich scene in the city for sure. There's literally hundreds of different acts at dozens of different venues on any given night of the week in normal times. Now venues are still not open, so that, you know, there's 0 acts at 0 venues.
Yep.
But, normally you could almost walk into any bar or little unexpected place and find somebody playing a tune of any sort of genre, you know. It's and I wouldn't want to say competitive because the community is fairly amicable, and people like to see other people succeed, and people help one another out, and over years you sort of get to know so many different talented people, and it's very cool.
Yeah, I mean, but then you realize, like, not being able to see those people every night. Like, I was going to shows maybe 4 or 5 times a week before the pandemic and whatnot. I wouldn't really, maybe I'd know about a show, but I'd usually end up at many stuff that I didn't even realize was going on. But like, we've taken it for granted because now we haven't hardly seen any of these folks in so long. And but before, you take it for granted. You don't realize that you have it so good. So it's slowly opening back up.
Yes, slowly opening, slowly but surely. Thank the Lord. Honestly, I'm happy about that. And Joe, speaking of concerts, you actually saw these guys live. Is that correct?
Yes, I did. I caught them over the years, similar to like your story, where it's like, you go from one gig to the next. Someone says, "Hey, let's go check out some bands." So I ended up seeing you guys. I forgot now. It's like, I think 2014 kind of vibe.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember the play. Was it Patrovis? You guys played there often.
That would be one of our first gigs ever, actually, and we've only played there once, I believe. Maybe, is that true?
Oh yeah,
we played there twice or three times by now.
Yeah.
But 2014 would have been very early on.
Yeah, that would have been the start of the 4-piece formation. So before that, it was just Paul and I kind of doing our thing.
It was a bit more of a rock, like a little bit of more of a rock vibe, like band vibe. Not to say rock, but like band,
Yeah.
I remember. Like, and what's cool in Montreal in a place like that is like, in the same gig, there was probably a harder, heavier band, and then there was these guys, and like there's so many like co-sharing of everybody sort of sticks together, because it's like you have to sort of convince people to almost come and see you in this town, so it's like you line up 4 different bands together and you get a bigger crowd. That's like, and it ends up being like everybody spills over. You end up meeting so many people and collaborating, and just like,
wow,
so it's a great city for that.
You guys should work for the Montreal Tourism Board. I'm like ready to send my paychecks right over to Quebec here. So what would you guys say is a good thing that you guys found in terms of standing out in the scene where there's so many bands at so many different clubs? Like what helped you guys sort of break through that mesh and become unique?
I think, just being authentic, staying true to ourselves, and not trying to be like somebody else that's potentially more successful or something like that. And I think people appreciate authenticity.
I think we also just we've stayed the course, and we're not changing. We're not really, like I was saying before, with gimmicks or trends. We kind of just prefer strong, good songs with lyrical driven and just like fucking loud guitar. So we've just not really strayed from that. It obviously songs are different and different. We also don't stay to one form of songs. So there'll be maybe a horror type song, and then a very sweet little piano ballad.
Right, and I found the EP very diverse.
Absolutely, and we definitely give it our 110%, no matter where we play or when we play, even if it's to one person. So I feel like that impacts people in the sense that they'll come back for more, because they sense that we feel that the crowd is important no matter what situation.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I remember like when I saw you guys the first time, then I saw you guys just at the beginning of the pandemic, sort of like do a soft sort of little concert at home. I think it was just you two guys. And we had that on SoundMojo actually in October for our Sound Travels. And I think like what you really get is like a sense of that every show is going to be unique. It's never going to be the same, because the music just lends itself to that. It's like literally like you said, you're just trying to be authentic, and like and you're playing with the emotions you have of that day, right? So it's like that's what I've noticed. Every time I've seen you guys, it's been like a different show every time.
That's awesome. We like to hear that.
I got to see you guys. This sounds really cool over here. I mean, I'm like the kid I left out of the sandbox over here. No Montreal, no Po Lazarus concert.
Well, we had an online concert. It was available in Alberta.
This is true. This is true. I was slacking. There's no one to blame but myself over here. Joe, it's funny because you deal with so many SoundMojo artists and so many, concerts. You're obviously in the mix. I'm just curious, like, what would you say from all the artists you see on a daily basis? What stands out to you when you go through them? And what do you think, you could impart to people to stand out in this?
That's a tough question. You got to go with your gut. Like for me, it's always been like the initial reaction. When I hear if the song excites me right off the bat, it doesn't matter if the production is, what level it's at. It's just got to be. It's about the song. So it's like if it moves me, I'm like, well, it's got to move some other people. So I'll put it. And then now I've been noticing over the last while of doing this that like what seems to be working a bit more on the channel than others, and then I sort of follow waves. All of a sudden I get a lot of indie rock, I'll get some pop stuff, and I'll get some like hip hop, and then all of a sudden I'll get a lot of electronica. So like recently
submissions, you mean?
Yeah, it's like, and it's interesting. It's an interesting experience. Like people are so helpful, like just putting together a show, indie artists, like just putting together a show last year. I just reached out, I sent out a bunch of emails, and everybody's like, yeah, dude, I'm going to, in the middle of a pandemic, I'm going to go record myself acoustically or with my band. And, just to make this 3-set, 15-minute like sort of show, so that's why I like helping these artists as much as I can by, getting them on some promotions, exposing them to another audience that they would probably not have had, So that's kind of like a mission statement, if a long-winded one.
That's awesome, man. No, that's a good way to do it.
Trust me, I pinch myself because like it's like, wow, I'm like, I remember being a kid trying to be a radio host and like trying to put my own radio shows and record them on cassette and stuff, and like I'm sort of kind of doing that now. It's just really trippy.
Right.
Hell yeah,
I remember that too.
Well done.
I mean, it's been on the rise. I can see the pictures on my TV screens, and they scream no.
Where do you guys record your music, especially since the pandemic? Is it in the same place, different place?
So, I mean, it's not the same place because the EP was recorded at the Bathhouse, which is the studio owned by the Tragically Hip. So that's a big Canadian band. I think they got them in Alberta.
Yeah.
Never heard of them.
So clearly we haven't been back there. We recorded our EP as well as an LP, which we haven't released yet. We're just kind of sitting on. Everything's ready. We're just waiting for a right time, and the time I think is sooner now. But so ever since it's been pandemic, Paul and I could hardly even meet up. We would a few times, and we didn't know if there would be risks and whatnot, or if we'd even be stopped in the streets. But it's been mainly more so like cell phone recordings, and if we're able to, maybe at a friend's who has better technology. But we're not doing too much to actual recording right now. Just songwriting, and when we could, we have had some band practices. So that's always been little pockets of light throughout the year or more. Yeah.
And how have you found that, Paul, from your perspective?
I mean, it's not great. It's not great. In normal times, Josh and I would probably get together and work on songs at least twice a week, and we would have a full band rehearsal at least once a week. Now it's very sparse and in between. So that's not super great for just, keeping that momentum going. But we've still got lots of songs in the works, and very much looking forward to starting to polish those up for our next recordings. So hopefully that's in the nearer future than it's been,
For sure.
I wanted to ask you guys about Mark. Is it Vreeken, right? Mark Vreeken, the producer?
Yes, sir.
Like, how did you end up, how did you guys come to work with him? And double question is like, what do you think he brought to your sound?
So we met him through another contact who had worked with him before, and he sort of just sent some of our music his way. And we ended up on a phone call with Mark Vreeken. Josh and I were at a bar. At a bar in the Plateau, I believe. A bar in the Plateau.
Oh,
and then Mark Vreeken called us, and to our great surprise, he loved our material and said he was interested in working with us. So that was absolutely phenomenal. And once we actually got to the Bathhouse, that was, I would say, our best recording experience that we've had so far.
Absolutely.
And, in terms of what he brought to our sound, maybe Josh, you can take it from there.
I mean, I've never been like the biggest Tragically Hip fan or anything, but I certainly appreciate them. And then when I've seen them live, then I really got it. I was like, oh, hell yeah. I just went because a buddy, there was like a lull at a festival. He's like, I love the Tragically Hip. I was like, I'll go. And then we were kind of converted. So, I mean, Mark would also aid them a lot in their live shows and mix the live sound. So I'm not saying exactly that he made it sound live or anything. We were playing most of the tracks live off the floor, but I don't know. When I saw them live, I kind of got that feeling to the songs that we've now recorded with him. It doesn't sound like, I don't know what I'm even saying.
No, it sounds like it's, live to tape rather than a bunch of guys playing parts in a room, by themselves.
It's not like computerized and very, I don't know. There's a humanity to it.
Which is very important and hard to capture, by the way.
Oh yeah.
That's it. That's what I was going to say. Like the Tragically Hip, like they're like wallpaper for us here. Like we know them, that sound has always been in our ears. Mm-hmm. And excuse me. And, I was gonna say it's like that's a band like they have so many cult like songs, like at this point it's part of like our fabric. I these songs are Canadian to me and stuff, but they like imagine trying to capture that energy because when you see them live it's something else and it's such a hard task to capture. Like I've tried to do it with bands that played live in a room and you hear them, you're so like they move you, so much. And then it's like you're trying to capture them with microphones and to get that sound is like such a challenge, Are the other songs on the album also recorded by Mark?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so you guys did like a whole album basically with him.
We did. Well, we have a full 11-song LP, and then these were other tunes that we had. So we didn't really know what to do with them just yet. And because of the pandemic, we realized we want to share something. It's been years since we put out a song, so it kind of worked out very nicely.
Has it felt looser during the pandemic to just like, okay, we're going to release 3 songs? Because I've noticed a lot of artists are even just releasing 1 song when they usually would never do that.
I mean, maybe it would feel that way, but it's absolutely wasn't too loose for us. It was like because it happened, we had to make the choice, but we take it very, very seriously when we're finally showing people some tunes. So maybe it seems like, we're cool. We're just gonna leave these here. Haha, we just had them. But like, no, it's so serious to us, So.
Right, yeah, definitely. But it sort of changes the landscape in which it's released because, usually people, there's a lot of artists, they would never be in the single landscape. And now since the pandemic, it seems like they sort of shifted to it. So always interesting, Joe.
People want to let you know that they're still okay and they're alive, so that's good too. That's what you got to do.
This is the truth. You got to make the noise out there. So what's next for you guys? I know you guys got the record, the EP. You're probably not looking too far ahead, sort of.
Well, we got this full album. So
exactly.
We got full album. We just got some test pressings on vinyl, which is a absolute like one of the dreams,
Yeah,
for anybody.
Totally.
That's awesome.
So that was pretty exciting. So
they're going to be on sale eventually, and then we can maybe put a link.
I would hope so. Absolutely. Yeah. But one thing I wanted to get back to, Paul, you answer about the future in a second, but I just want to say that because we released music, which kind of goes with your last question, because we released songs during the pandemic, other people took notice and were like, okay, these guys are still doing this during this terrible time. And like that helps. It helped to release things, people took notice, and that's the reason we could do some online shows that are actually taking places at venues where venues recorded us and whatnot. So that was a pretty positive thing for us because we didn't know what the outcome would be, but to have people enjoy it and also be like, okay, wow, they're still going, that meant a lot. So that was cool. And the future.
Awesome. So yeah, I was just going to touch on your previous question about, is it's true. It maybe seems more loose because things are just released online or whatever. But when we actually had to take the decision to, take these 3 songs that weren't necessarily in the mix and to put them together, then obviously, we have to come up with a concept so that it makes sense, artwork, make videos. So we've released 2 of the videos from the songs from the EP, and
which are
probably, and probably in the near future, actually, we're working on a small documentary type thing about the release of these songs during a pandemic. So that will probably answer your question even more.
Okay. So you're looking ahead a little bit at some stuff after the record. Well, that's very exciting, guys. And, Montreal looks pretty good for shows. I know they just had that Lamb of God announcement the other day, a couple others. So, looks like stuff's starting to come back. And
I think we're opening for Lamb of God.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm telling the news. It's here first.
that's a legislation that we just made.
There you go.
Anything else you want to add, Joe?
No, I'm good, man. I just wanted to actually, I was just reading the comments here, like on Violent Times, and it's like just nothing but positive comments here on SoundMojo, like this is again a song where I'm really glad I subscribed, like that's fantastic.
That's awesome.
It's the whole goal, right? And like some people here, absolutely well done song, artistry, presentation, so underrated. I love it. Added to my playlist, and on and on.
All positive.
It's great, man. It's like
Big props over at SoundMojo. We got a nice community over there.
I liked seeing those comments. That was awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think the videos that we released are two. They're very different, but I think Violent Times is one of the very, very strong video. I love it.
Yeah, it's very nice. Like it really like sets a mood, Like the song already on its own is just a mood, and then the video really just adds that extra layer,
Thank you.
Great job you guys are doing,
Thank you so much.
I'm a fan, so like, you guys are always welcome. Doors always open.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, guys. Come back anytime.